First off, I want to give a big shout out to Kelly and Jenny in the back. Thanks for taking care of us, girls. If you need drinks or food, you go to them, and your table number is all they need to know to bring the food to you. And if you are a RIA member, show them your card, and you get 25% off your food tonight. A couple announcements that we'd like to go over. First off, we do have some book giveaways going on. So at the JM Real Estate Capital booth over there, we have two books. We have what book did you bring again? Oh yeah, we have Rich Dad Poor Dad over there as book number 1 for the giveaway. And the second book, I took off my own shelf. It means a lot to me. I think I mentioned it in the past. But back in 2009, I was working at Thrasher, and I had a coworker that saw I was struggling financially with credit debt and so on. And so he put the book, The Total Money Makeover in my hands by Dave Ramsey. And that just changed my whole trajectory on where I was at that point in my life. I read all his books, listened to his podcasts. I know that when it comes to real estate investing, I don't follow his tactics, but there's some good tactics of just getting out of debt. That is the book that gentleman gave me, and he told me to make sure I gave that book away to somebody else. I've given that book away 4 or 5 times now, and that book keeps on coming back to me after they read it. So I have the book out there. I ask that you read it. If you read it, put your card in it, bring it back. Let's give it away again. And so that's sitting back there right now. So all you got to do is if you want to get those cards, put a business card down there at the JM booth, and we will draw for those 2 books at the end of the night. So appreciate you guys helping with that. But anyway, my name's Ted. I run the Omaha RIA with my wife, Jessica. We've been now doing this for 3 years. We took over in the heart of COVID, and we've grown this group from 72 members to 450 members. And out of those, thank you. And out of that, besides DB Video coming in and making us really techie and looking good here, Jeff Beals has been one of the guys that's been a part of this every year. Besides, you've done other RIA groups beforehand, but you've consistently been here every year since then, so thank you for that. Want to give a shout out to our sponsors tonight. First one is DBG Realty. They're our event sponsor this evening, and we're going to invite Tanner to come speak on behalf of DBG. They've been a sponsor since day 1. They're one of the Schlickburn companies with Tree Investing Capital and Solid Roofing and Schlick Construction and DBG. What? Orange Property Management. I was getting there. Cut me off ahead of time. But Tanner, go and come up here. And we'll give him the mic for a few minutes.
All right. Well, how's it going, everyone? I'm Tanner Sherman. I'm one of the agents with DBG Realty, also, like I said, Dream Investing Capital. We just want to talk for a minute about what it is that we do with DBG and what differentiates us from other real estate brokerages. We really like to focus on the portfolio development, and we want to build you up from buying your first flip property to buying larger commercial assets and getting into, the Jeff Beals side of the business. So if you want to learn more about, all the slang terms you hear on Bigger Pockets and, all the fun stuff that it means to build a portfolio, then come back, talk to us. We'd love to help you. And, we're experts in underwriting those kinds of smaller deals that you're getting started in. So love to connect with you.
Just so you guys know, our event sponsors are always rotated through our gold sponsors. So our gold sponsors are the ones that are giving the most to the group. They're getting the most back from the group too. So we appreciate everybody that's a sponsor, but we really appreciate the gold sponsors that do this. Also, we're going to give a shout out to JM Real Estate Capital. David's here. Dave, you want to come say a few words? JM's also worked with us now for about 2 years. They sponsor our podcast, RIA Radio, and tonight they're our drink sponsor, which is really nice because, Dave, you're going to be the reason everybody has to get hotel rooms tonight.
Yeah, we get all the money back from the hotel that we spent on buying you drinks. I wish that were true. That's not. Hey, I'm Dave Hesterman with JM Real Estate Capital. And first off, let me tell you, the guy who's normally here for us, Rob Fishbein, cannot be here tonight because he's in Tel Aviv, Israel, becoming acquainted with his very first grandchild. You're right. That's a moment worthy of applause. And let me ask you to give yourselves a round of applause for every RIA member. You deserve to be applauded too. we love RIA members. RIA members are good borrowers, and the reason you're good borrowers is because you make better decisions than people who are just trying to figure it all out on their own. Okay, so you guys are smart to be complimented for being here. Now, let me say this: the real estate world and the credit markets are a little bit, well, they've been difficult the last year, as you know. There's some guy who lives in Washington, D.C., I believe his name is Jay Powell, who is hell-bent on higher interest rates. And we're subject to that. So our rates are up higher than they were 4 years ago, too. But, while the rates have gone up, rents have gone up. So people who are buying investment properties are still making positive cash flow every month. Someday the rates are going to drop back down. And when they do, anything you bought and financed at 8%, you can refinance at the new lower rate, and the positive cash flow just gets better and better and better. So don't shy away from the market because you're afraid of the loans. From a buyer's point of view, market conditions have actually helped you. You do not show up at a house to buy and find 20 people in front of you offering to pay over the asking price. Okay? Now you can actually negotiate. You can say, oh, well, you know something? I want an inspector to come in and look at this house before I give you an offer. And 3 years ago, they'd say, oh, you want an inspector? Go away. I got cash offers waiting right behind you. So the market conditions right now, a little topsy-turvy, yes, but actually, I think favorable to a serious real estate investor. So I encourage you to go out and get your property, get your ideas lined up, and then come call me for a loan, okay? Our loans are unregulated private money, meaning it's easy to qualify, but actually cheaper than the banks. We will never ask you for a financial statement. We will never ask you for a tax return. We will not do a debt to income ratio on you, and our loan will not hurt your credit. It will not show up on your credit. It won't hurt your ability to buy a car or get a credit card or buy a house to live in. Doing business with us is our pleasure, and it will also be your pleasure. Would anybody like a business card? One guy. All right. Well, this is a big win for me tonight. I'll give the microphone back to Ted.
So if we're gonna buy a property in Belize or something, could we get a loan for that if it's outside the country? Okay, there. Good to know. Some other updates. If you attended our RIA golf outing, can I see a show of hands if we saw you guys out there? I know we had about 100 people show up. DVG was a sponsor, and Dream Vesting was a sponsor. But Coley Jessen was our event sponsor, so big shout out to Coley for that. We appreciate you guys very much. We brought in gross of $10,077, and we donated $6,515 to the Omaha Home for Boys. So thank you very much for that. We are making it a point to get this information out sooner. And so I'm actually meeting the Omaha Home of Boys coming in about 4 weeks to plan next year's event to give it a lot more promotion. Our goal is to have an event that has at least 200 people at it. So we're trying to double and create an event out of it with some possible music and some other things going along with it. And definitely like silent auctions, different other ways that we can raise money. If you have any other ideas on ways that we can make that event better, I'm open ears. Please reach out to me on Messenger, or Facebook, Instagram, or just call my cell phone. It's out there. So if I also want to shout out Dennis. Dennis helps out with our podcast, RIA Radio. Owen is not here tonight, so I don't have to hear him give me a hard time. But we have Tony Brown coming up. We're going to do both episodes this week. We have everything recorded through episode, I think, 106 right now. So episode 98, Tony Brown, he's out of Philadelphia. He's going to come on. We have Muta, episode 99. And then we have the famous Pace Morby on episode 100. So we will see each of these episodes come out. We'll do double episodes every week to get caught up because we have so much backlog of content. So we just want to get that out there to you guys. But if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. We try to put as much different content out there as you get from everybody else. Because traditionally, when you hear a real estate podcast, we find that it's just the same question. I can literally listen to like Case Morby, for instance, I listened probably about 15 hours of podcasting, and it was just the same thing reiterated over and over and over and over again. But when we meet with somebody, we want to get to know the person versus just what they're doing. So it makes it a little bit more unique. So we hope you do appreciate that. Ooh, I can echo here. And is there anybody going to the Bigger Pockets conference in about a week and a half? Yeah. Any other hands? Austin? Anybody else? Tanner? Okay, so yeah, so there's a handful that's going. Austin rented a mega mansion down there, like a 12-bedroom place that a lot of us are staying in. I think there's almost 20 of us going. Ben, I know you're going. I didn't see a hand. Where you at, Ben? Yeah, where's he at? He walked off. Ben's going too. We have a big group going. If you are going, please reach out to us. If we don't know, not aware of it already, we always like to get together and do a big dinner while we're down there and get everybody together, and come down and jump in the pool in the hot tub in the place, right? So it should be fun. If you guys didn't know, we get a 25% discount tonight for your foods. Take advantage of that, and if you drink too much, take advantage of the $99 room special. A couple upcoming events we have going on. We have our Omaha Real Luncheon next. That's going to be on October 20th. It's free to everybody, members or non-members can attend. The best way I can explain this is just like a traditional networking group. There's no presenter. We might have presenters at one day, but right now there's no presenters. Everybody gets up and speaks. It's about you and getting to know the members and getting to know the person next to you instead of just getting to know one person like you do today. But Jeff's the guy you want to get to know. And we do that at the rail car, and it's right off of 144th and Blondo, Friday, October 20th, 11:30 to 1. That same day is the National RIA Zoom call. That's at 4 p.m. That's always on the third Fridays. If you are a member, the link is going to be on omaharia.com to check that out. You do have to pre-register, and there's usually about 400 or 500 people on that Zoom call. There's always content, and they tell you about upcoming updates with your membership benefits. And then also that same day, this is crazy, we have our Mastermind Property Bus Tour on October 20th. It's a non-conventional bus tour. We are going to go to a warehouse facility. We are going to go to a laundromat. We are going to storage units. We're going to visit a family property I'm renovating from a 2-bed to a 4-bedroom house. It's going to become a high-end Airbnb. Not as high-end as Dan Zimmerman's that we're going to out west. If you guys seen his post on Facebook, he's got a probably $1.5 million house with an indoor pool, and it's getting featured on the home channel, HGTV, and in January. And so they have full film crews down there. That will be on the tour also. So lots of good content. It's going to be just not your traditional. So if you want to do investing that isn't standard, check this out. It's a Halloween theme. Midwest Title is providing all the drinks on the bus. There'll be appetizers included, and the whole event is $75, and we have a VIP limo bus for the night. I think there's 40-some spots open, and the information is online at omaharia.com and all of our Facebook channels. Also, Travis Banks created 101. The flyer is on your table. Travis is doing classes with Pace Morby. He's personal friends with them. He's going to take a lot of that knowledge and bring it back here. Travis was the sole reason that we were able to get Pace Morby on the podcast, so big shout out to him. Definitely check that out. I'm anticipating that's going to be a pretty busy event. A lot of people have lots of questions about it. I understand it, but I definitely have a lot to learn. I'm excited about this event. And then finally, we have Jordan Downey coming in from Frankel Accounting, and we're calling that Invest Wisely, underwriting the 23-24 tax policy shifts. And that's Tuesday, December 5th. So got the rest of the year booked out, and no excuses. But without any further ado, let's get to the man, the myth, the legend here. But tonight we have our pleasure of welcoming back someone who holds a unique distinction in our group. The only speaker who has graced our stage every single year since I've taken over. His connection to our community and to me personally runs even deeper. Jeff Beals and I share memories that go way back from growing up as neighbors. Jeff's voice might resonate with some of you on his Saturday morning drives as he hosts the Grow Omaha radio show on KFAB 1110, sorry. Not 110, they don't even have a 110 channel, do they? 2 months. Serving as Executive Vice President of NIA NP Dodge, an accomplished author and international consultant, Jeff Insights are second to none. As we dive into tonight's session, I encourage you all to tune in closely. Information he provides has the power of reshaping how you view your next investment property. Leveraging his extensive knowledge in Omaha's ever-evolving landscape, And let's extend a warmest welcome to Omaha RIA's Jeff Beals.
All right, we're set. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, as Ted mentioned, I've known him since he was a little kid, and it's always kind of fun to be here and see him as not a little kid anymore, so head of RIA. At any rate, my purpose for being here is to give you an overview of what's happening in the market and what we're doing in Grow Omaha. So my friend Trenton Magid and I run Grow Omaha, and we've been doing this business for about 20 years. Grow Omaha talks about the growth and development of the city, and it's kind of business, construction, real estate. We also talk a lot about retail and restaurant news as we go along as well. So I'm going to kind of explain a few things about what we do. First of all, we do our Saturday morning radio show. It is on News Radio 1110 KFAB, and it starts at 9:06 if you want to be exact, and lasts for about an hour, and we just kind of talk about what's happening in town when it comes to growth and development. And then we also, every Thursday afternoon, have the Grow Omaha Weekly Market Report. We just call it the newsletter for short. We have about 19,000 people who get that. It comes out every Thursday afternoon, late in the afternoon, and it has a long, exhaustive collection of retail and restaurant news, business news, lots of real estate and construction news, economic development. We have a residential real estate section. We talk about people who get promotions and new jobs, and shoot, we even give you some investment advice in it as well. If you would like to get that newsletter, simply send an email to news@growomaha.com, or you can just go to growomaha.com and there's a sign-up sheet there. Now, some of you, we get this all of the time. People say, I signed up for that newsletter and I never got it. Well, that's probably because it's going into your junk or spam file. It goes to almost 20,000 people all at once from a system that is designed to send out blast emails. So a lot of your inbound systems flag that. So if you want to make sure you get it, put news@growomaha.com on your approved senders list, and you should be golden. So whenever we do these programs, we always start by going through some of the big projects that are happening now, and I give you a little overview of those. And we won't spend very much time on that because I know what most of you want to talk about are the questions that are in your own mind. And so we'll open it up for Q&A about Omaha growth and development here in a moment. But let me highlight a few of the big things that you've heard about or that you see when you're driving around town. And you may have noticed earlier this year, there was an official announcement about the plans at the former Civic Auditorium site. Those plans are being developed by White Lotus, Omaha real estate development firm that has a long, nice track record. They're working with the city. So it's 4 square blocks, and the plan is to actually put the street grid back in to that Civic Auditorium site. And the picture you're seeing here is looking from the northwest toward the southeast. And that thing right there is supposedly going to be a fitness facility, but plans call for apartments, offices, other retail, and even townhomes and condos. Not sure when that would start. Nothing has started yet. A lot of times with those big projects that take up a lot of land and have a lot of moving pieces, it takes a while for them to get going. Next one on there, oh, by the way, before we go on to what's next, this is a different view. So this view here, like I said, is from the northwest to the southeast. This one is from the northeast to the southwest. And you can just kind of get an idea about what it would look like. Gotta love the grass roofs. Now here's an aerial that was taken of the Crossroads site about 1 month ago. And Brad Williams from E&A Consulting, a well-known photographer in town, does a lot of work for us at Grow Omaha. And a couple times a year, he charters a helicopter and he goes around and he shoots all these development sites and construction sites. He really does a heck of a job. So this is looking kind of from the northwest to the southeast. You can kind of see in the distance right here, that is the Target, and here is the old parking garage. But Brad, the guy who photographed this, made an interesting observation. He said back in 2007, the very first year he chartered a helicopter for photography and video purposes. They flew over Exarban Village. And at that time, it looked a lot like this. The streets were in, the sewers were in, but nothing else. And so we think we're getting close to seeing some sort of vertical construction next year. Now, before you roll your eyes and groan your groans, at Grow Omaha, we keep hearing it. We have people that are emailing us all the time, and they talk about projects like the Crossroads. When's that ever going to start? It's a $600, $700 million project. These things take a lot of time. Plus, it's gone through a lot of iterations and issues over the years, different owners and whatnot. Okay, this is a picture of the new UNMC Innovation Hub. If you've driven by Saddle Creek, just on the west side of the Med Center lately, you can see there was this old steel manufacturing plant that has been stripped to the steel. It is down to the steel skeleton and a little bit of brick walls there. That is going to be converted into this super high-tech, innovative place where the Med Center is going to be doing technology transfer, taking their research and innovations and sending it to private industry so that it can be industrialized, all sorts of crazy combinations between the private sector and the university. It's going to be really cool. And they'll even have a food court in there. So that's coming along pretty nicely on the west side. So last year when I was here, we talked about the skyscraper. Well, since then, construction has started. It actually started in January, and it's coming along nicely. This is a rendering of what it'll look like when it's all done if you were standing on the far end of the Gene Leahy Mall. In fact, if you look here, you can see this is the band shell that is in the middle of the Gene Leahy Mall, and this is what it would look beyond. And actually, from this angle, you might actually see a little bit of the Woodman Tower. But imagine that one insurance company decided to screen out a different insurance company's building when they made this rendering. This is pretty cool. This is what it's going to look like when you are coming in from the airport toward downtown on Abbott Drive. And that skyline is growing, starting to look a little bit more impressive. How cool will this be? Let's say you're standing just outside the third base dugout at Charles Schwab Field. It's definitely going to loom over the outfield of the stadium. The TV shots should look pretty cool. So, and this is another interesting artist perspective. This photograph is taken from the southeast corner of 14th and Farnham, looking to the northwest. And when you're right down there on street level, suffice it to say, this is going to be a pretty imposing building. All right, who wants to have a little bit of fun? We're going to have a little bit of fun here. Well, actually, we're not going to have any fun until after this slide. First, you have to be subjected to this apparently non-fun slide. But this is an aerial view taken by Brad Williams the same day as that Crossroads aerial view. And you can see this is the site where the old library had stood. It was removed by the end of last year. That's where the tower is going. And if you look, you can see two cranes. The yellow one is a classic tower crane, and then there's a blue one behind that. And then that pad is kind of where the core of the building will go up, and then the rest of the building will be around it. And if you go by today, well, if you went by tonight, you're not going to see much anything because it's pretty dark. But the middle core, what we sometimes they'll refer to as the elevator shaft, or sometimes they call it the shear tower. That is starting to come up above ground level now. So the building is progressing. It's supposed to be complete in 2026. My guess is it would probably be topped out sometime in 2025. You're probably going to see it by this time next year. The shear tower will probably be pretty tall. So now we're going to have a little fun. So let's see how this new building that we're going to have here in downtown Omaha compares with other buildings that are tall in Nebraska. It'll be the tallest of them all, taller than the First National Tower, the Woodman Life Tower, and then the fourth tallest building in Lincoln, the State Capitol building. Some of these other buildings that are further down, some people might not even know what they are, but the Elmwood Tower, for you longtime Omahans, you might think of it as Masonic Manor, but it's that really tall 22-story building that's out by Elmwood Park. And a lot of times people don't even notice it, but if you're standing right by it, you'd notice it. And then the Union Pacific headquarters, 317, and the old First National Center, the one that's the black glass building, That is $295. So how cool is this? This is where the Mutual of Omaha Tower stands among the tallest buildings in some regional cities. It's not going to stack up so well with Chicago, but with some of those other cities, it doesn't look too bad. And then finally, here you can see how it compares with the tallest buildings in some other national cities. And some people are surprised, oh, wow, the tallest building in San Diego, California is only 500 feet. Anyone know why? Super close to the airport. Piece of trivia for you. Tallest building in Washington, D.C., 555. What's that? The Washington Monument. Yeah, the Washington Monument. So at any rate, that is your fun for the night. Now back to no more fun and serious business. So this is an outline of the plan for the new Omaha streetcar, which will go from downtown to Midtown, the Blackstone district. So it'll serve CHI Health Center Omaha, go down towards the old market, then it'll turn west on Farnham Street through downtown into Midtown Crossing and out to the Blackstone district. And then when it comes back, it'll partly be on Farnham, partly will jive over to Harney Street and then go back to 10th Street. This will be about a $400 million project scheduled to open in late 2026. And if you've driven on Farnham Street lately, they have crews out there drilling holes. And the whole purpose of these 600 holes they're drilling along the whole stretch is to see if the underground infrastructure in reality actually matches what's on paper, what's on blueprints, what's on the city plans. You got to remember that stretch is one of the oldest stretches of the city. And so you've had civilization at 10th and Farnham for like 150 some years. A lot of buildings have been built, have been torn down and rebuilt. Streets went from dirt to brick to pavement to an asphalt overlay. Some of them have ancient streetcar lines in them. So it's quite a job to get that going. All right, and then we're wrapping up the prepared remarks I have for you, and we're getting closer to the Q&A section. I am really excited about this building that is currently under construction in the Blackstone district. So if you look at the photograph here, this is the former Blackstone Hotel for which the neighborhood is named, what we now call it the Cottonwood Kimpton, or the Kimpton Cottonwood Hotel. And behind that is Blackstone Plaza, which is where Warren Buffett has his office and is formerly the headquarters of Kiewit before they moved downtown. So this thing is right now on about the 4th floor. It'll be a 9-story building total, brings in a lot of really nice density into an already very dense part of the city. Inside it will be a City of Omaha owned and operated parking garage open to the public, which will help with a lot of us that don't live near the Blackstone but like to go have dinner there on Friday or Saturday night and can have a tough time finding a place to park. Kiewit Luminarium opened earlier this year. Who has visited the Luminarium so far? All right. Yeah, it's fantastic. I know I had high expectations for the place when I walked in, and I would say it actually exceeded my expectations. I'm hearing it's doing very well. Every time I drive by, no matter what day of the week it is, no matter what time, a lot of cars in the parking lot. So that appears to be a home run. So it is part of Lewis and Clark Landing, which is part of the 3-park riverfront series of parks, all open now. So those 3 parks and this museum together are a $400 million investment, 95% of which was funded privately, no tax dollars. Oh, by the way, earlier this year, we also opened Steelhouse Omaha, $100 million, almost 100% privately funded. Oh, and by the way, the Center for Arts Engagement, which is an extension of the Holland Performing Arts Center, also over $100 million, privately funded. So we're going to have about $600 million of privately funded quality of life investment in our downtown core in about a 2.5-year period. You want to know what that does? Creates a lot more construction and real estate activity because people want to be by those amenities. You're going to see apartments, you're going to see condos, you're going to see more and more construction. Throw in the streetcar, now we're over $1 billion in quality of life investments in the downtown area. It's going to be very exciting to see the cranes, the construction cranes in the air over downtown and midtown over the next 10 years. And then we're going to get to Eppley Airport. Eppley has been going through what's going to eventually amount to a couple $1 billion worth of improvements. You know, we already saw a massive improvement of the parking garages and the rental car facility a couple years ago. And then just not that long ago, we opened up a new approach and driveway, which can handle way more traffic and is so much organized. And then right now, they're working on a couple things, a $100 million power plant that no one gets too excited about, but you would get pretty excited if there wasn't enough power at the airport, and about a $100 million glass canopy that will cover the outdoor area for drop-off and pickup. You can see it right there. This thing is huge. It is it's a multi-million-dollar structure. No small task. They're working on that right now. Then next year, the big part. $600 to $700 million terminal expansion and overhaul. You know how when you go to the airport now, and I'm going to be there at like 5 a.m. tomorrow morning for a flight, and it's going to be crowded and it's going to be packed. But you know how you go there and all of the gates are stuffed into those two little pods, or I think they refer to them as satellite terminals. You go in there, it's so tight, it's so crowded. There's no good food service. Once you get past security, all that will go away, because it's going to be one long terminal. We're only going to add a couple gates. So we're going to go from about 21 gates to about 22, 23 gates, but they're all going to be in one long thing. We're going to have one TSA entrance. They're even going to have a customs thing for international flights. Right now, we are the largest city in America not to have at least one nonstop flight to Mexico. So we think that's probably going to be coming down the pike. So get excited about what's coming at Eppley. This building is an architectural showpiece. Oh, by the way, another over $100 million project that is, guess what, largely privately funded. 72nd and Dodge construction is now underway on the flagship library. They are drilling pilings, and that is getting close to wrapping up. And hopefully in a few months, we'll start to see construction going on this 3-story library, which will be one of the nicest libraries in the world, to be honest with you. So we're going to wrap up by talking about some of the national retailers and some of the national restaurant brands that have come or are coming to the market lately. A lot of these you know. Fleet Farm, 2 locations, West Maple and Gretna. Home Goods recently opened Papillion. Ross Dress for Less is coming to 72nd Street. Let's see, Yeti and Athleta have opened at Nebraska Crossing. You can see there are 2 businesses with training. Those are national fitness brands. Jake Cruz opening a store at Regency. Amazing Lash Studio is a chain at Exarban. The UPS store is going into downtown Omaha, which is a good sign for downtown growth and development. And if you're a food addict like me, you'll enjoy this list. The melting pot was here, it melted away, and now apparently it is reconstituting. They are looking for sites, and more importantly, they're looking for a franchisee. It's the most bizarre thing. Normally, to get all of this information we have about, we break a lot of news stories about restaurant and retailers coming to Omaha, Grow Omaha before anyone else does, and it takes a lot of work. We have to use our clandestine assets to get that news for you folks, but not with Melting Pot. They have sent me a press release every day for the last 8 days saying, please put us on the radio, because apparently they need a franchise. So will someone in the audience do me a favor and for God's sake sign up to open a Melting Pot so those sons of guns will quit pestering my inbox, because they desperately need a franchisee in Omaha. Hawaiian Brothers is out of Kansas City. Their first one is under construction in Gretna. Charleston's and Mahogany will soon, by the end of the year, move to their new locations in Heartwood Preserve. Mocha Coffee is a chain out of either Minnesota or Wisconsin that's coming to the market. Walk On Sports Bistro is partially owned by Drew Brees. They're coming to Gretna. Twin Peaks, here's another one that we didn't know what we had until it was gone. And like the Melting Pot, apparently not enough of you appreciated Twin Peaks because it went out of business. But now they decided, they're going to open 2 locations in town. So maybe that was the problem. They didn't have enough peaks. Now, Good Sense is coming back triumphantly with hoped for 10 locations. Smash Park is not really national because it's only like in Des Moines and Minneapolis and all that, but it's a really cool place. It is like a pickleball emporium. Of course, by the time they get it built, will probably be about the time everyone's sick of pickleball. On the Border finally came to the market. They opened this year in Papillion. Tupelo Honey Cafe is a national chain that specializes in Southern comfort food. They're going to be downtown in the new Mercantile District. Guy Fieri quietly opened a restaurant in the Harris Casino. I haven't heard that it's doing very well. Someone said that when you go there, you can pick your table. So we'll see how long it lasts. Williamsburg Pizza. This is not really a national chain. There's 6 of them in New York City and the one at 168th and Harrison. And so it's a little bifurcated, but it's doing great, knocking it out of the park. And then Ancho and Agave, a very small chain out of Illinois, opened just its 3rd location at Village Point. A lot of fun. I went there for the soft opening and had a pretty good time with it. So that's all we have for the prepared remarks. And so now it's the moment that you've all been waiting for, in which you can ask really anything, preferably related to the format of the night and nothing too political or pornographic. But so the way we do this, every couple of months on Grow Omaha, we have a thing called the call-in show. And people can call in and ask about anything. And really, I'm taking a big risk here because in the radio studio, we have a call screener. And so if you call and you're like frothing at the mouth, angry, or you're saying inappropriate, face reddening things, you're not going on the air. But now we're going to play without a net. And there's no screener, so if you want to ask, you can. So please, I beg of you, keep it to Omaha Growth and Development. And I will say also that if I don't know it, someone here probably will. And the last thing I'll say, because it appears we have a contestant, the last thing I'll say is that a lot of the questions that come up during the show or during one of these sessions come from you driving by something and thinking to yourself, what's going there? And so people call us with that all the time, and about 50% of them we know. So the other 50%, we guess. So Ted, would you like to be the first?
So I have a whole bunch of stuff. I've been writing notes all day for this.
Okay.
And how we're going to do this, just so, because we have this recorded on YouTube right now, just stand in line if you got questions. And if somebody gets behind me, I'll just ask my 2-3 questions and I'll get back in line.
Okay.
But retail stores, what about IKEA? I know a lot of people here would like IKEA, and I know that I've heard on the radio show possibly Gretna. Is that confirmed?
Yeah. So IKEA is, a Swedish retailer, very popular. It's like a tourist attraction unto itself. Omaha would be a very, very small market for IKEA. However, the folks at Nebraska Crossing are working very hard on IKEA. In fact, they're creating a special district, and certain tax benefits were passed by the unicameral earlier this year to enable this type of very large district that is designed to be heavy in retail, heavy in entertainment, and draw a lot of people in from out of state. So behind the scenes, the people behind Nebraska Crossing are working their tails off on that. And IKEA is just one of many big-time retailers that they are chasing hard. They're also chasing some blockbuster attractions there that would not be retail.
Like Jack Nicholson Golf Course?
Who knows? Golf.
I remember you do an interview with those guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about some mega courses. Is that confirmed, or is that just a vision?
It's not. Last I heard, it's not finalized. Okay. But they have talked to some people that would have a serious golf component and some other sports and recreation components. So we've got to give that one a little time, just like the Crossroads and some of these others. It's moving pieces. And if everything that is envisioned for the Nebraska Crossing District were to happen, we would be talking about a project that would be several times the expense and cost of Crossroads. So we'll see how that all plays out. My guess is even if some of the grandiose plans don't happen, knowing the high quality people that are behind that, The developer Nebraska Crossing is a guy who has tremendous vision. He's going to pull off something pretty good there, even if he doesn't get IKEA. All right, our next question.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us this evening.
You bet.
49th and Mayberry, I know there's a project that's going to be happening there, some kind of mixed-use project. It seems to have stalled. It's just they've cleaned out the houses. It's bare there, just grass and a couple storage containers. When is that project going to get going? What's happening?
So is Mayberry by Leavenworth? Kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like Saddle Creek and Mayberry.
Oh, that project. Okay. Yeah, that is supposed to be primarily multifamily, large multifamily building. Then there were going to be some townhouses. And then the last I saw, there would be about 3 maybe pad sites or something like that for a bank or a restaurant or what have you. We have not heard anything about it not happening. But a whole bunch of trees and shrubs and things like that were removed. One small building was removed, but like they're supposed to take down Muth Electric and some other stuff. They have not started that. So my guess is either it's on hold, possible it could die. I will say there have been several projects that were approved for tax increment financing in the last 2 years that are long-term shelved because of the sharp increase in interest rates, just as they affect REIA investors who are thinking about taking down a couple more doors here or there. They affect those big building developers too. And so I don't know about that one. I've not heard it's off.
You said sometimes other people in the room know. Does anybody else in the room know anything about that? Okay.
Yeah. You want to say it?
They are moving out this year so that
The existing
end of this year,
businesses.
so that the existing businesses, so that the new people can come in and do construction next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who's our next question asker? Yes, sir.
Hello. Quick question. Do you guys ever get notified on private funded jobs? Like example off of, there's a big project that we're doing, 3031 Birch Street, and then also 1511 Central Park Tower, where we're taking the units, making them ADA code compliant. I don't know if they tell you about that type of stuff or not.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. The way we get most of our information is either through planning board documents or City of Omaha documents, press releases from developers or other companies. And then Trenton and I, my partner in Grow Omaha, are affiliated with a commercial real estate company in Dodge. Brad Williams, our other contributor, is affiliated with a civil engineering firm, E&A Consulting. So we also gather information from those organizations. And then some of it is just driving around. The three of us try to make sure, as much as humanly possible, we try to drive the market once a week. But yeah, you could write a book of all of the construction projects that the three of us have never heard of, to be candid with you. There's so many of them going on right now.
Oh yeah.
What are you? Are you working in the trades?
I'm actually a general contractor for that project.
Okay.
It's about 7.4 million that they're investing into it. They're bringing them from a low class level C to about a class B plus finish, and they're doing an in-house place rehab on all the units. I think it's 164 units roughly.
And this is which project?
This is the Birch Street. If you go right out here, 3031 Birch Street, there's the Omaha Public Schools right behind it. Those buildings that I used. When I got there, we had to have cops there every day just to get the people out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that'll be a big improvement then.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice when it's done.
Yeah. Everyone's like, don't send those people to my property. Yeah.
No. Well, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. And then what was the other project you mentioned?
1511 Farnham. It's right.
Twin
that
Towers?
Yeah, Central Park Tower.
Yeah. The Central Park Plaza Towers.
Yep.
Okay. And you guys are doing
Complete rehab, new electrical, new fire screens for the elevators, new sprinkler system, basically a full redo, everything.
because there's a hell of a lot of vacancy in there, isn't there?
Yep, but what their plan is, what they're doing with the tax credited dollars is this is the logistic part that we've been working on for 6-7 months.
Okay.
So I don't know if you ever heard of this concept. So the tenants will leave for just the day. We have from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and we have a very tight schedule. So if we do cabinets, here's how it works. We come in, we demo out the cabinets while the tenant's out at work or whatever. And then the plumber comes in, does all this plumbing. We set the cabinets, the plumber connects it all, and then they move back. Then they can still keep their rent from the tax credit and everything, but then they have all the other credit to get them on the rehab.
That's even better than 3-day kitchen and bath.
Yeah. yeah.
That's impressive. Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. Thank you. All right. We got a microphone adjustment in progress. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I heard a rumor that there was going to be a Great Wolf Lodge in Gretna over by 88 Tactical. Do you know anything about that?
You know, no, I don't. I can tell you though that the Great Wolf Lodge rumors have been going on ever since that one opened about 20 years ago in Kansas City. Now that does not mean that it couldn't happen. And the one I've been hearing lately is building one in La Vista by the open area by Cabela's. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? But every time someone mentions that, I'm always like a little bit skeptical because it's been going on for so long. But why not? I mean, I think if Great Wolf Lodge does well, and I assume it does, I don't know, but I assume it does, why wouldn't they do well here? Yeah. Anyone know anything? Any Great Wolf Lodge rumors? Okay. Seeing none. Yes, sir.
Do you know of any major changes to roadways? I know I've asked you in the past about Platteview Road and then also the lowering of one of the interstates around here to make it more of a boulevard. Anything like that you could share on? Gretna to Elkhorn, roadway's terrible. 370 is getting the same way. I can't stand it. So if you have anything on that.
Yeah, nothing that's going to make you feel too good. The Platteview Road corridor, when you look at some of the plans, to the best of my knowledge, a lot of them haven't been finalized. But the things you see look good, and my hope and prayer is that at least a good chunk of it is freeway style. My fear is that it'll end up being divided highway style, just like 204th Street is and Highway 370. We've got a looming disaster on 204th Street. The state of Nebraska Department of Transportation screwed us a couple ways on that one. That one should have been a 6-laner when they built it, or it should have been freeway style, or at a very minimum, 204th Street should have been the one without traffic lights over Center instead of Center, which has like 2 cars an hour going underneath that bridge without obstruction. Meanwhile, 16,000 people are waiting at a red light on 204th Street. And to make you a little bit more nervous about 204th Street, I looked at the aerial map the other day from Nebraska Crossing all the way up to about Fort Street, okay? So that big stretch of 204th Street. And I calculated that about a half mile to the east and then a couple miles to the west, because it'll be the final major arterial until you get all the way down to that different watershed on the other side of the Elkhorn River. I calculated less than 50% of the land has been developed. So yeah, 204th Street's going to be rough. The state of Nebraska has said long-term they see $1 billion widening project of Interstate 80 through Omaha. My guess is that's a long ways off. That's probably a long ways off. So it'll be a little bit tough. It'll be a little bit tough. Move in the city and take the streetcar. Okay, next one.
Yeah, thanks for all the info. I honestly had no idea what to expect tonight, but I'm glad I showed up. It's pretty cool to hear all this stuff.
Appreciate that. Thanks for coming.
What about the La Vista City Center? I know there was kind of a big stall on it, and now I drive past it the other day, and it looks like it's getting close, but I don't know if you have any info on that.
Yeah, it was a very ambitious project, and like so many of those big, huge mixed-use projects, they always take longer than the optimistic developers and city officials typically hope, and they always take longer than people like us who want to go to them wish. But it's coming. I know they had a little trouble with some of the retail lease up, and there were some restaurants that were going to go that may have fallen through, but there was one that just opened about a week ago called City Pub. I've yet to try it, but it's supposed to be like a nice gastropub. That theater, I believe is up and running now. Has anyone been to a show at La Vista City Center yet, the Astro Theater?
Yes, like it.
Okay, Ted, you been there?
I went to 311 on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
And it was a amazing experience there. It was no problem getting in as far as parking goes. Parking was free. I went to the gastropub, and the facilities were amazing. We walked in. I was able to get a drink whenever I wanted it with no line, and there was absolutely zero crowding in there, and it was a sold out show. So
that is good to hear, because I think a lot of people are really excited about that project. You understand, La Vista is the newest city in the state of Nebraska. It's only been in existence since the 1960s, so it was built as a suburb, right? Never had a downtown. Like all those other suburbs, when they were some small town along a railroad stop, not too far out of Omaha, they had their own little downtown. Like even Millard has its own little downtown. La Vista has to create theirs from the ground up. Okay, next question asker.
It's been great information. Thank you so much.
Thank
My
you.
question is, do you think that Omaha is like a little sleeper city, and that I've seen Houston and Atlanta and some other places that we've lived like really grow and bustle? Is Omaha a city that welcomes this growth? And do you think it's going to be like the next, like maybe Silicon Valley of the Midwest?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think Omaha is going to continue to have healthy growth, and I think our growth will accelerate. Because typically for so many years we had growth that was somewhere between 0.8% a year to 1 or a little over 1% a year, which is very healthy, which out of the top 100 largest metro areas is actually in the top half for fastest growing. So I don't think I ever see us getting to the point where we're having 2 or 3% growth per year. And frankly, I'm not sure we can handle that in a healthful way. But I do see us getting to that point where we're regularly having like 1.5, which probably puts us maybe even in the top 20% for growth for some years from time to time. And I'd kind of like to see that. And one of the things that makes me feel a little bit better for Omaha growth is that, believe it or not, we're one of the least sprawling major cities in the United States. In fact, I can remember even back 20 years ago, there was a study that identified which cities were the most sprawling and which ones were the least. Number one least sprawling city in the way they handled development was Miami, and we were number 2 behind Miami. And so we do a pretty good job of trying to compact those things in, especially for a city here in this part of the country. I mean, if you go to Kansas City, and if you live in Omaha, we all like Kansas City. We all have an affinity for Kansas City. I grew up here, so I spent so much time in Kansas City, still do this day, so many good memories there. But it is a god-awful cluster, you know what, in the way that it was designed. You go miles of nothing but trees along the freeway, and so you have all this sprawl, which creates traffic and all these problems, and we don't have any of that to speak of. So I think we can handle it. We're working really hard to create more infrastructure in the city where, you could put, here in the downtown area, you could put another 10 or 20,000 residents and not even barely notice the traffic on the street. You put another 20,000 residents in a cornfield out west, and we're going to see it on 204th. Yeah. Now, there are a couple things, too, to kind of wrap up my answer to your question. There is about a $2.5 to $3 billion expansion plan at the Med Center that's in the works. I think that and some other things that we have going on, especially with all this downtown stuff, I think you are going to see an acceleration of growth. And for those of you who own property in this area, which is probably about all of you if you're in this group, I think your long-term appreciation probably looks pretty rosy. We got Ted.
I got a big list of stuff here. Do you think all this private money is coming in from Uncle Warren or what?
Uncle Warren has played a big role in that, and why Omaha's got so much going for it, because Berkshire Hathaway has created countless families that are worth over $100 million and that live in Omaha. I mean, countless families in this town have over $100 million in net worth because of Berkshire Hathaway money, a shocking number. And so when you do hear things like we can fund $600 million worth of downtown quality of life enhancements in 2.5 years, that's where a lot of that money comes from. the Holland Center, named after Richard Holland and his wife, Berkshire money. So in that sense, yes, a lot of that comes from him. But I think the rest of it comes from Midwestern work ethic, good institutions, good school districts. I think our state generally, albeit kind of a high tax state, other than that, is pretty business friendly, and that all plays into the mix.
I'll tell Warren that if you talk to him, that we have an opening for him if he wants to come speak sometime. So.
Oh, I thought you meant to be a RIA member.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about this big lake going in. Excites a lot of us investors because there's a lot of opportunity for possible Airbnbs and rental opportunities. Do you think they'll really happen? It seems like it will.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance, and this is no small project. I mean, we're talking about what, hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars to build this thing, 7-mile long lake. I would say though that it's like a lot of things that we talk about and contemplate in Omaha. Sometimes these investments are downright scary when you think about them, and it kind of reminds me of 2000, the year 2000. I worked on the campaign to pass the bond issue to build CHA Health Center Omaha, our arena and convention center. And that bond issue passed 63 to 37. We were so excited. We were so thrilled. We worked our asses off campaigning for a whole year to get that passed. But it was interesting to me that 37% of the people voted against it. And the people would say things like, it'll lose money. It's going to cost the taxpayers. It'll be an empty white elephant. It'll be a disaster. Could you imagine downtown Omaha without the CHI Health Center and everything it does for us? Well, I think that lake would be a lot like that. I think the streetcar is going to be a lot like that. I do not believe in recklessly spending the public's money. I'm a fiscal conservative guy. But if I see a project that has a high likelihood of creating more wealth than it costs, I say build it all day long and build it right away. Love the idea of that lake. The collateral real estate development that would happen because of that lake would be billions and billions of dollars.
That's the most exciting thing I've heard about of all projects coming to town right now, but I do hope that happens. You keep on mentioning the streetcar, and right now we're just talking about phase 1 of the streetcar. There's a lot of rumors of where the streetcar is going to go, from that point. And one of the rumors I've been hearing the most about is it's going to go from the zoo to the airport as a phase 2. Have you been hearing that?
I've heard a lot of things. I've talked to some transportation people. No one knows for sure because it, to the best of my knowledge, has not been decided. But I see a couple different scenarios. One is what you're talking about, a stretch that would go from the zoo up either 10th or 13th and either go through North Omaha over to the airport or Abbott Drive to the airport. The part through North Omaha makes sense in some ways because streetcars work best when there's lots of buildings and people around them, or there are places where buildings will be built because of the streetcar. And so if it ever went through that North Omaha part, like I believe it was Senator Justin Wayne proposed, that would make a lot of sense. If you run it on Abbott, it would get there quicker, but streetcars don't do as well when they're taking you from someplace to a ways away, like down to an airport. They're better for taking people from the place where they park to where they want to go to dinner, or from getting out of the Rose Theater to having drinks in the old market afterwards. They tend to work a little bit, or taking you from your apartment to your office. They tend to work a little bit better that way. So we'll see. The other route extensions that have been discussed very seriously would be Council Bluffs. In fact, I talked to one transportation planner and his prediction that the highest likelihood second phase would be along First Avenue just south of Broadway to downtown Council Bluffs. The other extension would be go to the western edge of Med Center, and some people have proposed then turning north up Saddle Creek to Benson. Other people have proposed turning south on Saddle Creek and center out to Exarban. Either way, you'll have a ton of buildings pop up along it if it happens.
I really like the Little Bohemia corridor idea. I'm just gonna put that out there if you have any say so.
What, you got a bunch of property down there, Ted?
That's where I like to invest. Yeah. Yeah.
You got to buy more down there, Ted? You speculating down there, Ted?
Yeah, I know Uncle Warren doesn't want it. You have an online question that came in. It says, it's from Brad Bader. He says, Jeff, if you had $100 million right now, where would you invest for the future?
Huh. Wow. Wow. I don't know. Yeah. You know, maybe I have a couple different feelings because part of me says I would build a very large industrial building with 38-foot ceilings and great dock doors out on along Interstate 80 in Sarpy County. But then another part of me says I'd do a mixed-use building in the urban core. So I could see that. I could see that going either way. That's a tough one. How about that caller gets me that $100 million? I'll invest it, and in 5 years, I'll let him know how I did.
Yeah, Brad, if you got 100 million, I'll give you a call after this.
Okay.
But the I-29 bypass, I know it's been in talks for a little bit, but I'm curious what you think that'll do for development in Sarpy County, as well as where it'll pop out in proportion to 204th, 144th district.
So basically, you're talking about how when you're on I-29 right now and you get off the Glenwood exit, you can take that newish bridge into Bellevue and then over into through Sarpy County. Is that what you're talking about on the
So the Mayor Papillion was talking about they're doing a bypass completely around the city, so that
yeah. That would be the Platteview Road corridor that I think someone over here asked about earlier. It's pretty early. I've noticed when I was driving a couple months ago along the eastern part of that on Platteview Road, they're doing something with underground sewers, which I presume is preparatory in nature for that project. We need it desperately. I will, like I said before, I'll be disappointed if it's a 4-lane divided and not a true freeway style for at least part of it. But I think we've already benefited even from that 7-mile stretch of 4-lane divided highway that opened a few years ago or a couple years ago that connects Glenwood to just south of Bellevue and north of Plattsmouth. In fact, right there at that interchange with that Highway 34 and Highway 75, the Kennedy Freeway, we're going to have a very, very impressive high-tech military. It's going to be a program. It's called the NC3 or N3C or something like that, and it's going to be a combined private industry military thing, super high tech, very beneficial for Stratcom and national security. It'll bring in a lot of cool jobs. So already that highway has done some good, even though it stops right there at 75.
And then also on top of Sarpy, I've seen a lot of that farmland south of I-80 down behind the Google data center is getting bought up. Have you heard any rumors about what they're doing? I know the city's already got infrastructure plans for the roads.
Yeah, R&R Realty out of West Des Moines, Iowa, has been building quite a few very nice, high-quality Class A industrial buildings, really more like logistics and warehousing type buildings. They have 2 of them that are already done that are immediately south of the Google data center, southeast of 156th and Schramm. And then there's another big land chunk of land there that is being graded right now. R&R is going to build some stuff there. And then right along that little crescent shape along the freeway where the Rotella Bread industrial building is, Noddle Companies is developing that, and there's going to be a whole bunch of industrial there as well. There was something floating around not too terribly long ago that Facebook took down even more land to the southeast of the Cape Hart Road and Highway 50, because they're already developing the other 3 corners. What the hell? And but then someone said they're maybe taking a pause for a while because it's kind of a tough economy right now for those Silicon Valley companies. But my guess is long term, Facebook keeps gobbling up more stuff down there. And there were rumors right before the pandemic that either Microsoft or Apple was sniffing around down there. Obviously, I could say apparently that never happened, but who knows? Who knows if that could come back?
I got a question for you, Jeff.
Okay.
This is better than the call-in show because I get to ask all my questions. Hey, so there's that open area that they graded in Midtown Crossing. And the rumors originally that's where the tower was going to go, and then they took their spot that they obviously have, but they took out that Runza. They took out some really nice old apartment buildings over there. There was rumors that the Union was looking at it for a possible soccer course. What's going on?
Yeah, so that originally was going to be a development, a big mixed-use urban development in conjunction with East Campus Realty, which is the real estate arm of Mutual of Omaha, and a big developer out of Minneapolis. I don't know if it was Opus or some, it was a big developer out of Minneapolis that was going to be involved. There were plans that were presented before the city. There was even a proposal for a city-owned parking garage in the middle of it, hotel, a lot of apartments, mixed-use stuff, street-level retail, just exactly what you want to see. And to the best of my knowledge, the pandemic killed that. I'm not 100% certain that it's 100% dead, but to the best of my knowledge, that is either dead or shelved for a while. Now, Union Omaha, the soccer team, it's my understanding, has been looking at downtown. I believe they've looked at that site to put the stadium there. You would have a really, if the end zone, can you call it an end zone on a soccer stadium? It would look out at the buildings downtown. It'd be cool. Also believe that Union Omaha is considering the Union Pacific land northeast of Charles Schwab Field, and they've looked at some suburban sites too. I'm pretty confident they would prefer to be urban because I think they see young professionals. There's a higher concentration of young professionals. There's a higher concentration of Latino population on the east side. They really want to be where there's a lot of Latinos and a lot of young professionals. And to me, that means probably downtown. So we'll see what happens. If the stadium does not go there, though, when the streetcar comes through, that area will be primed for what we call transit-oriented development.
That would be the perfect spot they could go.
It would be nice.
I mean, with everything that's going on around there, that'd be a home run for them.
Yeah. Even people like me that are not big soccer fans would go just for the spectacle and the scene and the party and all that sort of thing. It'd be fun. Yes, sir.
I think you can tell who listens to the show the most here. So,
do you listen?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I think the two of us will just keep staying here, and you guys can all just, But
they're gonna be sweeping the floor around us.
So over the last few years, there's been refinances like crazy from 2017, 2019. Those notes are now coming due. Do you expect any sort of expansion in cap rates with that on the horizon?
I'm no investment expert, and I don't do commercial real estate deals anymore. I haven't for the last 10 years because actually most of my time and focus is spent on a sales training business that I do. So I'm just kind of like an ADD guy that does a little bit of real estate, does a little bit of this media company, does a sales training business. I'm not the guy to ask, unfortunately. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I bet there are some people in this room that are very up with what direction that's going and might have an opinion.
Not as up as you think.
Or not.
Okay, so there was a lot of talk about the orbit going up and down 24th Street.
Yes.
Is there an update on that?
Yeah, I think last I heard that is being studied.
Yeah,
and the route that I would not be surprised to see would start at 24th and Q on the south side, go all the way up through Old South Omaha, all the way up through that Vinton and Martha stretch, right to that cool area of downtown that's got a lot of potential. Can you imagine what could happen where Orbit and the streetcar cross at 24th and Farnham? I don't know if it's like crossing the streams in Ghostbusters, but I think it's a good thing actually. Yeah. And then it would continue through Creighton, and then one of the proposals I've heard is that it would then veer to the west and go up 30th Street instead of 24th, because on 30th Street there's more concentration, and on 30th you could hit that new Highlander district, Metropolitan Community College, and then you could terminate it at Florence, which is kind of like it's got Florence, that little downtown area's got potential. We'll see though.
Well, speaking of 24th Street, I got two other things kind of go along with that. There was originally going to be a sports center off 24th and Martha.
That's dead.
And they canceled it,
Yeah.
but they bought all the properties. They condemned everything out. What are they doing with all those homes? Are they available to buy, or did the people buy them back? Do you know what's going on with all that?
I don't know. It's a good question. And it's a shame that didn't happen.
I was super excited about that.
That type of facility is desperately needed in East Omaha. It would give a lot of kids a chance to get into competitive youth sports if we could pull off something like that. Part of it is cost, part of it's location. Where do you find a space that big?
They have it. They bought it. They got everybody out. They bought all the houses.
And the people that were going to do it are a reputable developer that have done other things, but I just don't. I get the impression that they weren't able to make those dollar numbers work. Yeah.
And in that same area off 24th and Martha, there's that industrial area.
Mm-hmm.
They just built a cement plex underneath the bridge over there. But there's an abandoned apartment building that's been there for a long time.
Is it the one over by it was like the Salvation Army
Yes,
thing over there?
it's got like the painted sign on the side.
Yeah.
What the heck is the story with that? I recently noticed that they boarded up the windows. I think it's like 10 stories.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised it wasn't on your list of one of the tallest buildings. But
it would be down a ways.
But yeah, you get my point. But it's sitting there. It's been condemned since I've been a kid. I don't ever remember it being used. But there's one point I looked at that building for an investor trying to get some information on it, and there's a guy that owns it, and he lives out of the manager section of that building.
He's probably the only guy that lives in it.
There's a light, and there's a manager section, and he has a parking. He has one car in there, and but the rest of the building's exposed. But you know anything about that?
First of all, he's probably like, welcome to my 10-story house.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think in any city there are little pockets of forgotten development. I have heard that someone was looking at doing something in that area, but that person did not mention that building. So yeah, I don't know much about it, but I think it's down there. It's hidden. It's kind of the bridge is up. Maybe it's not as desirable because it's so down low and the railroad tracks are there. But who knows? If we keep creating all that momentum in the urban core, eventually areas like that, there's going to be demand to redevelop them. We got another question. This is awesome. I can't believe all these questions. This is great.
A question around the Med Center.
Okay.
They're doing their project next. They have that all going on, the stuff they've announced. Do you know what they're maybe wanting to do in addition to that? What are their hopes and dreams around the Med Center?
Well, Project Next itself is a massive dream because it could end up totaling like over $4 billion, depending on what federal government departments partner with the Med Center and with the big hospital and all that sort of thing. But I think you might also see more and more private university collaboration on that West campus, especially given that Catalyst Innovation Center that I showed on a photograph earlier in the program. So I think you could see some of that there. Now, who knows? Like, could you entice? I'm just spitballing here, but could you entice like the National Institute of Health or the Centers for Disease Control to do major installations there because of what they're going to do with the biohazard stuff? Who knows? But knowing what I know about the people that run the Med Center, they do think big.
So I was clicking around the assessor site, and I noticed they own a lot along Leavenworth Street, like next to Barrett's. Any idea what their plans are for that, or they seem to just buying up houses in Morton Meadows as well?
Yeah, they've the Med Center's acquired a lot of property along the north side of Leavenworth Street, and I think it's just to protect it for their future expansion. To the best of my knowledge, they're not going to do anything with it right away, and like Barrett's is not going anywhere. And for God's sakes, we hope Broncos is not going anywhere. So I think they're just trying to. I think they know they've got a beast there in the Med Center that's going to grow and grow and grow, and responsible leaders are making sure there's land available for that growth now.
I know the city has plans to increase density downtown. Do you think they have any plans to put in a grocery store down there?
Yes, there have been a lot of people for years working really hard on that. Really cool rumor floating around about a name brand grocery store possibly going near Morrison Stadium in North Downtown, a stone's throw away from here. And then I can also tell you that White Lotus, the developers of that Civic Auditorium site, are aggressively talking to grocery store users as well. I also wouldn't be shocked if a small urban style grocery store doesn't open up somewhere along the streetcar line 5 or 10 years from now. But there is a really pretty good solid rumor about one going into North Downtown.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Ted.
How will this new tower affect the downtown market as far as potentials with when it comes to investing in rentals? Is this an area that you would recommend us look at for potential investments, buying buildings in what, a 2-mile, 3-mile radius, and how many people are you think it's going to bring to the downtown area?
You're talking about the Mutual Tower, Ted?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, I think that the tower will do a lot of good things because, first of all, you'll have about 4,000 workers in there. They're hybriding them so that they're not all going to be there at once. I think, most days there'll be like 2,000 to 2,500 there at any given time because they're going to shift them in, shift them out. But anytime you bring in a large group of people, into the downtown core who weren't there already. You're gonna have more street traffic, you're gonna have more foot traffic. And some of those people are going to want to live within a walking distance or a streetcar ride of their offices. And then I think the other thing that, like for instance, we wrote an article in the Grow Omaha newsletter a couple months ago about the 5 development projects currently underway that'll have the biggest long-term impact on additional growth. And we put that one in there. And it wasn't because of the 4,000 employees. It was because of the psychological impact it will have on people who come downtown, because it'll make the skyline look way bigger. And then that perception is reality, right? And if there's more excitement downtown, then more stuff happens. If more stuff happens, then there's more excitement. And that's how kind of urban centers kind of accelerate. So that building will have a way bigger impact than the 800,000 square feet of floor space it has, or the 4,000 workers it contains.
Well, that building also had, wasn't there like 5 companies that were bidding for that spot?
For the mutual spot?
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but I do know that several developers have expressed interest. Like, for instance, the city of Omaha swapped the old Union Pacific headquarters site with the library site.
I'm talking about the library, though. Wasn't there, when Mutual of Omaha won it to get that location, wasn't there multiple businesses that wanted to have their tower there?
To the best of my knowledge, I don't think a lot of them were pretty hardcore serious, like Mutual and Lanahaw Development, its developer, were. Now, when the old Union Pacific headquarters site, we're expecting the city to issue an RFP at some point in time. Like, we thought it would have been earlier this year. We keep hearing rumblings and rumors that there are multiple developers interested in that site. But I don't know how hardcore serious that was. Maybe.
I was just excited because I thought maybe there'd be 3-4 more towers coming in right behind it. So
if you don't see a high-rise residential tower in the next 10 years, I'll be very surprised and disappointed. And I think the old UP site would be a great candidate for something like. You know what I'd like to see at the old UP site? I'd like to see a true mixed-use building like you see in major markets, like few office floors. A big chunk of it would be a nice hotel. A big chunk of it would be apartments, and then a big chunk of it would be condos, and the top floor is premium penthouses. You know, I think a market this size could do a 40-story building with something like that. Next question.
I had a question about land. If you were to look for a space for an RV park in the area, where would you be looking?
Well, I think you would probably have to look out on the suburban frontier for the most part in order to be able to find something for the right price. Now, I know nothing about the dollars and cents that go into RV parks, and so I guess I'm not a good guy to ask from that perspective. My guess would be, though, you're looking for probably pretty cheap land. And if that's the case, you're going to have to be out on the suburban frontier. And then I think if you look, like I've been in Omaha, I grew up here, okay, and I'm in.
You know?
What's
Sorry.
that? Oh, okay. What was the problem? Oh. So I'm like, I grew up here and I'm 54. So I'm actually old enough to see and remember what a lot of the development was. And there have been various times in which there were RV parks that were out on the fringe, and then the city kind of grew around them or something like that. So I guess my first reaction would be to look on the fringe.
Okay, and so would you say like Council Bluffs area or like more west?
I don't know enough to answer
Okay.
the question.
All right,
Sorry.
thank you. No,
Yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah. I don't want to steer you wrongly.
you should talk to Mo Albers because she was actually working with a client that was looking for 3 spots for RV parks, and there's a couple places that she located for them, and things didn't work out, so it might be worth a conversation. Yeah, and so another online question.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so what's the most needed commercial space? Warehouse, multifamily, mixed use, office, industrial storage, or is he missing something?
A warehouse. Yeah, the vacancy rate for industrial buildings in general in Omaha is sub 3%. Some quarters, every once in a while it'll sneak up above 3%, but usually it's sub 3%. So it's really, really tough. If you get someone that, one of our brokers in NAINP Dodge gets a phone call and someone says, get us 50,000 square feet of high ceiling space with doctors, like, oh boy, how long can you wait? Because we have to build it. That's probably the toughest.
Okay, I'm running out of questions here. Not like three. This is, about a good time. 90th and Center. That area was wiped clean. Originally, there was a Burger King, there was a VFE car wash, there was a putt-putt down there. It was a very vibrant corridor.
Yeah.
And then I think it's probably been close to 20 years that the whole area has just been leveled.
Probably.
And I don't understand why somebody would buy it, eliminate businesses that were actually successful where they could have kept on getting money, but it's just sitting there vacant. What the heck is going on there?
I'm upset about it because that was the official Westside High School Burger King in the 80s when I went to school there.
And 1998, just so you know.
Yeah, for you too, yeah. And now I don't know who owns it now. Last I knew, Schlossberg companies have a big developer in town, and I don't know what they want to do. My assumption is that they are holding out for something special, and they have presumably the pockets that are deep enough to carry that until they feel that they have something that is worthy of that land. But I'm just spitballing there.
I can't imagine how much
I've
that
never
property has
talked
cost them to hold and
vacate
all those businesses,
and
level it. I can imagine how much money they spent on that.
If you filled that, even if you filled it with a suburban style apartment complex, you would think, but my guess is you would do maybe quasi-suburban, quasi-urban. You would maybe have some buildings with underground parking, some buildings with a little bit of street level retail, but not a lot like you would see, and maybe a pad site or two. I think you could fill it up like that.
I mean, every other side of it's been redeveloped.
Yeah, and it's 90th and Center. It's a great area.
Maybe you need to have them on the show.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, this is one of our most asked questions for 20 years. Maybe you can just come on and answer it.
Say, when are you guys going to get your butts in gear and
together, people?
Yeah, people want to know. All righty.
Hey, Jeff. Another question.
Okay.
So North Omaha growth there has been a focus for the city, it seems like, over the last several years. Do you know of any initiatives coming down the pipe that are focused specifically for North Omaha?
Well, the Highlander project at 30th and Dodge is well underway and has room to grow and expand. The other thing is that there was a lot of money that came from federal sources because of the pandemic, and about 300 some million of that money that came to the state of Nebraska has been reserved or earmarked for Northeast and Southeast Omaha. And there's a process underway to determine which projects are going to get how much. The state had hired a consulting firm to make recommendations, and they're kind of using those recommendations as a base. In North Omaha, I know one of the projects that has a high likelihood would be a very large, or at least a decent sized, upscale, modern warehouse and logistics building, and maybe a manufacturing plant. But I think you're going to see a lot of other projects come in Northeast and Southeast Omaha. But it's early in that process, so we don't know exactly what some of those are going to be.
Quick question, just about your building your media company.
Oh,
Could you
cool.
just talk about what that process has been like over the last 20 years roughly?
20 years, yeah.
And then everything you've gotten your hands into regarding that, as quick as possible. I know that's a long story, but
Sure. Yeah. No, I can make it quick. So 20 years ago, we decided to start Grow Omaha as a purchased radio show on KFA. Actually, it was on KCAR 1290 at the time, and then we got called up to the big leagues, and we went over to KFAB after about 2 years. And that show originally was a marketing expense for us. We saw it as a way to promote the real estate company that we're affiliated with. And then it did have a missionary component, and that was to increase confidence in Omaha and excitement about Omaha, because my partner and I were both natives, and we were kind of frustrated sometimes how Omaha people would say things like, someone say, yeah, it's a great city, yeah, but it's not as big as Minneapolis, or something like that. Or, yeah, your city's great, yeah, but we get snow, so it's horrible. And so we wanted people to be more positive. And then as time went on, the show started to get very popular, so we started selling advertising on the show, and then it turned a profit. And then we started the newsletter about 2.5 years ago, and that is really profitable for us. Not huge numbers, but profit percentage. It's like 70, 80% profit margin on it. And that's up to about 19,000, 20,000 subscribers. And with that, basically, my business partner and I, we came up with every executive, business owner, professional, managerial, community leader, politician, people that we thought would be interested in our stuff, everyone that we possibly knew, and we decided that was our starter list, 6,100, And just from constantly putting that material out and trying to make it better and better every week, we're able to grow it organically to getting close to 20,000. Our goal is to have about 50,000 in a couple of years.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
I know it's a little bit on the outskirts of Omaha, but one question I was curious about because I've been looking for land to develop myself, but in Utan, they're only selling parcels by 10 acres. But the thing is, when you buy it, you have to sign a deal that you cannot develop anything more, and you can't what do you call it? Subland develop it, where you do one part and then you sell the other land. I was curious if you might know anything about that, because in Iowa, they allow you to basically, you can do just about anything.
Yeah, I don't know the particulars of when that happened, why they do it. My guess is they know what is coming their direction, and they like the ex-urban, quasi-rural feeling of Saunders County, that part of Saunders County, and they're trying to protect that. And so they're putting those types of restrictions on the land because, if you look at the rate of growth, and you also take into account that a lot of the land from the Elkhorn River to the Platte River can't really be densely developed because it's floodplain between two rivers. So what's going to happen theoretically is that West Omaha suburban growth goes up to the Elkhorn River Valley, some here and there, lake communities down in those lowlands, and then it'll jump the way like a forest fire jumps,
Yeah.
and it'll start going into eastern Saunders County. My guess is Utan's afraid of that, but that's just me guessing, and I don't blame them. I'm sure they want to protect the quality of life and the way of life that they have now.
Yeah, the thing that was just a little confusing for me was because one of my cousins just bought a parcel up there. What they were going to do is try to sell 5 acres back to a farmer, but they can't do that.
Can't do it. Yeah.
So that's why I was curious about that, because they just want to keep it just agricultural.
Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear it. Yeah, and if you owned an acreage there and you wanted that acreage quality of life, have a chicken and a horse, you probably don't want cul-de-sacs.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you. Yeah, good question.
All right, thank you.
Looks like we have another question to ask her.
Hi, I was just curious about the development project. There formerly was a club called Shark, or the Shark Club, but it seems like it's been stalled. So if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, I don't know too much about that one. It was going to be, if I remember correctly, about an 8-story building. Last I heard, that one was long-term shelved or dead. I could be wrong, and if someone knows different, I apologize, but last rumor I heard was that one was probably done. What he said. All right. Ted.
So many Shark Club memories I have from back in the day.
And half of which you can't say in mixed company, but go ahead.
I can't. No, that's it. Those are the Omaha nightlife days. I got 2 questions to finalize unless somebody else has questions here. Okay. So what's the biggest developments happening in Council Bluffs and Lincoln to kind of go outside of Omaha?
We do cover Council Bluffs. We do not cover Lincoln.
What are the 2 biggest things that you know
Okay.
personally?
But in Council Bluffs, which we do cover, the biggest thing right now that I can think of is the massive expansion of their Google data center. That thing already is one of the largest data centers in the world, I think, because Google has like 1,000 acres there. And if you go and look at what they're grading, it's probably about 50 or 60% of what they already have. And so that's pretty big. Other than that, in Council Bluffs, I'm having a hard time thinking of anything really big. There's Tesla is building a really cool service center over by the Mid-America Center.
And why they already have a Tesla center there, and
it's going to
still nothing in Omaha.
I think it's going to replace that one that is further east in Council Bluffs.
Yeah.
And I don't know this for sure, but it might be because of some differing state laws in Iowa and Nebraska, which is why it might be on the Iowa side. But to tell you, one of the biggest development or construction projects in Council Bluffs has been that freeway system, which is almost done. There is one ramp, southbound 29 to westbound 480 going to downtown Omaha we're waiting for, and they're doing a little more widening beyond Madison Avenue on the east side of Council Bluffs, then that will be done.
And Broadway looks pretty now. I mean, they've redone.
Looks a lot better. And that whole area, I mean, by far the most impressive freeway infrastructure in the Omaha metropolitan area is in Council Bluffs now. I mean, that is cool freeway infrastructure.
So I want to end with this. I was listening to your show when this first happened, but you're the first person that wrote expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was on there. I remember you said it, and it was like a week later, it was showing up on the news.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to take that knowledge and pass it on to other investors that bought a lot of properties in those areas. What is the next big thing that's going to break where somebody in this room should probably go look at that area to invest? Like me personally, I think it's the Little Bohemia area. I see a lot of that growth. I have hopes that they're going to do a rail car at some point going from the zoo on. And so if that happens, that area is just a home run. But what are you seeing? What's the next big thing in town where somebody should buy rental properties or investment properties or Airbnbs in that area?
That is a really tough question. A good one, though. I will say when it comes comparing to the med center, my guess is nothing anywhere near that scale. Because, we're talking about like the biggest project in state history or something like that. So, but I agree with you. Little Bohemia has a lot of potential for a lot of reasons. Any part of the urban core that hasn't gotten a lot of attention yet will probably be in play. I think some of the area around the airport could be in play because
like Carter Lake area.
Yeah, and there are still some empty industrial lots up there, and I think there are also on the commercial side some buildings that could be torn down and replaced with better and higher uses. Because I think you're going to see a significant increase in passenger traffic after that terminal's done, and then also just because of natural growth of the city. If that lake were to happen, plus with the stuff that Nebraska Crossings do, I think you're going to see a lot of growth in the Gretna area. If
just give us like a couple months heads up when the lakes happen, so we can all buy an acre somewhere in that area, so we can get lakefront property given to us.
And if I do that, you better all invite me to your very nice lake houses for a margarita and some barbecue ribs on the grill.
A free weekend Airbnb stay for everybody that you recommend.
Deal. All righty. Are we good?
Any other questions? Finish it up, buddy.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been a pleasure and much continued success to all of you. I appreciate it.
In the meantime, I'm going to do a couple closing statements here, but there's 2 books we're going to give away. There's 1 card sitting there. So if you're interested in either of those 2 books, I would get a card over there. We'll do a drawing in just a second. But just in conclusion, Jeff, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this. The knowledge that you give is like no other. And because of that, I do not miss a show. So, and you know that for a fact. That's where I get most of my questions I had today. Anyway, just kind of giving people, if you're new in the room or a new member or a visitor, can you raise your hand just so we know who you are? So first off, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you guys very much. It is really important to know who's around you. So if you own multifamily homes, can you raise your hand? If you do storage units, can you raise your hand? If you do trailer parks, there you go. If you do storage units, anybody do storage units? How about commercial properties, strip malls, things like that? How about single family rental properties? And where's our Airbnb people? And who does midterms? And where's our contractors in the room? And if you don't want to raise your hand, I get it because all this stuff's going on, but where's our wholesalers in the room? I know there's a few in here. I just don't see the hands going up. And what about out-of-state investors? Anybody investing out-of-state? There you go. How about outside of the country investors? Where's our investment real estate agents in the house? These are good people to know. Property managers? Any property managers? And what about just flippers? Any flippers here? And what am I missing? Is there something I'm missing? Ben, what am I missing? You do a little bit of everything. RV parks. Any RV park owners? Okay, so the point here is there's a little bit of somebody doing everything here. And if you're looking to get into the business, you've been talking RV parks. You know that there's somebody in the room doing RV parks. So it's kind of a good way to go. Just kind of look at who you want to get to know and probably have a drink with them after this, right? And speaking of drinks, JM Real Estate Capital is sponsoring the domestic draws across the room at the Burger Theory. We tend to have a lot of fun over there. That's where things happen. So definitely recommend come checking that out. And the mic is open. Is there anybody that wants to shout out a business or has a property to sell or looking for something in their business that they need help with? Nobody. There we go. I've never had nobody.
Yeah, we've got some properties for sale, Dream Investing Capital, and also we are raising $4 million from accredited investors. Want to open it up to the community first. So if you have an interest in investing passively, then come have a chat. So, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've got a client looking for 10,000 square foot space at least for storage, warehouse somewhere. Coming soon, I have an Airbnb that's live and has bookings, but going to be on the market next week probably in Bellevue on Sunny Street, just across from the middle school. So look for that one.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to shout out Tanner Gordon. He is right now renovating my grandmother's house that I bought about 13 years ago. So doing an amazing job on that. We're taking it from a 2-bedroom to a 4-bedroom in Little Bohemia. We're showcasing that on the bus tour. So super excited about that. And then also he's helped me out with, I have a 5-unit apartment building on 24th and Vinton that we use as Airbnb midterms. And he's doing a big $6.5 million project with a builder and put all the foremen in my midterm units. So huge shout out to you for helping me with that. So thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer, real estate agent. If anybody knows about acreages where horses and cows can be, please let me know. I currently have a client looking for some. Thank you guys. Furthest is 45 minutes out of South Omaha.
And congratulations on getting engaged because we haven't seen you since then.
Hi, I'm Shannon Lerda, and I'm a co-founder of Elevator, which is a co-warehousing community here in the urban core at 14th and Jones. So it's my first time here. Thank you. It was very great. How are you doing? If anybody is looking for very small, flexible month-to-month warehouse spaces, that's what we do. So we have private warehouse suites with on-site conference room and photo video studio and classroom space, as well as shipping, receiving, and a dock-high loading door. So we do all that for you, and it's month-to-month, so very, very flexible. We are also raising capital to open 2 new locations for Elevator outside of Omaha, so we are also talking to investors on that front. We're raising $2 million, and we're about halfway there. So if you are interested in either of those things, go to elevatorspaces.com, and my contact information is on the website.
It's an awesome. Raphael gave me a tour of your facilities.
Raphael's great.
And right in your grand opening, and I was completely blown away. I mean, it's a beautiful workspace, but then you got the warehouse space, and then you do all the shipping out of there. It's totally unique. If you haven't checked it out, I would request a tour. It's totally
you can book a
awesome.
tour right on our website. It's all integrated, and the warehouse space is fully climatized and air conditioned, and it's very clean. Kind of has a co-working community vibe, so very upscale warehouse feel. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm Angie Eppenbaugh. I'm with DVG Realty, and I wanted to share with everybody that I have a listing. It's a mobile home, but you own the land. Address is 1020 North 168th, so it's right across from Shields, the Village Point area. So it's in the Elkhorn district. It has a stick garage, 1-car garage with extra storage. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, around 900 square feet. And rents we were getting about $1,000 a month. So I guess the rent-a-meter says up to $1,300. And I don't know. So it's a great investment property. We have Airbnbs, and we just are looking to sell it. So find the information on Zillow, or you can contact me directly.
Jeff Beals.
You should. It's a great deal. So I will say the reason why we haven't been able to sell it is that financing's been an issue. We bought it cash. There's not a lot of banks that do mobile home lending. But today I got a list of 5 banks that do lending for that. And we found the VIN number. So that was kind of a breakthrough day for us because we can't get a loan unless we have the VIN number. And so we had to take the skirting off and find it on the frame. So
JM Real Estate Capital, do you guys do mobile homes? Oh man, strike.
So it does have the wheels removed and hurricane straps, and it's on block footings. But it's a unique parcel. So it's Crot Homes is the like little subdivision, and Mrs. B had a little something to do with it back in the day. Her and her boyfriend and some other partner, and they decided to let everybody just buy their own lot. So this is back in the 70s, early 70s, and half the trailer park is all second, third generation or original people there. So.
And they all have $100 million in their bank accounts.
Right? Yeah. You're either going to get bought out someday, but while you're holding the property, it's cash flowing great. So it was built in, I guess, manufactured in 1999. So fenced yard. It's cute. The neighborhood's is funky. So I encourage you to drive through. It's just kind of interesting to see that part of Omaha and to have that there. So lots of development all around it. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Angel.
If anyone has any firehouses, anything condemned, anything with hoarders, anything with the city telling you a tear down order, please let me or Ted know. And then if you have anything in Little Bohemia, please let me or Ted know.
We love Little Bohemia area.
Hi, Autumn Evans. Jeff, I want to say I always enjoy watching you present. He was my college professor, and I luckily passed. I was so busy in college, so but I did enjoy your classes. I'm Autumn Evans. I'm co-owner of Evans Masonry LLC. We're a small family-owned business. My husband and I, we're a kick-ass team. I have to say that. We do brick, block, stone, concrete, tuck pointing, restoration. We do about 50-50 residential, commercial. I'm also a real estate broker with Liberty Core Real Estate. So shout out to Liberty Core. They're a great boutique brokerage. So we have some opening for inside work this winter. I want to try to keep my guys busy. So if you have any inside concrete, tuck pointing, any sort of restoration work, we are available for that. You can just Google us, Evans Masonry LLC. Thank you.
What does tuck pointing cost?
It just varies because a lot of times we'll give you kind of a range on what we think, how much time will be involved in that. It depends, really.
It's not by the brick line or like there's a mathematical thing that you figure out.
No, if you have like a one mason company where you just have one guy, they'll probably charge you about $100 an hour. It just depends on how easy that the mortar joints kind of crumble out. Sometimes it's like rock hard, like concrete in there, and sometimes you can kind of pick it out. You have to like
sometimes you
grind
see your
up.
finger and it just flat.
Yeah, sometimes, but yeah, we're on a tuck pointing job right now, and you have to be really careful not to break the brick, especially on older homes, on older buildings and stuff, because you'll be tuck pointing, you'll like crack the brick. Hopefully, it's not in a place that you see. But you have to be really gentle, and you can't let your new guys do it because they'll ruin it. But we are hiring too, so if anybody wants to learn the masonry trade, we hired a guy, 18, graduated high school last year, started him at 18 an hour. A year and a half later, he's at $30 an hour, bought a new car, we're helping him buy a new house. He'll be at 40 an hour in like 4 years, 3-4 years, but if you learn fast and you want to grow, I mean, masonry is where it's at. There's not very many good masons out there. It's a dying trade, so we're trying to like grow the youngsters, and somebody's got to restore these buildings to make them look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
you don't want to do tuck pointing on your own. Trust me.
You just slap concrete on it otherwise.
Yeah, I tell you what, don't try to do it on your own. Give us a call. We're not the cheapest, but we're one of the best companies in Omaha. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So you can just check out our reviews. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Okay, so we only had one card, so you can pick what book you want here. Jason Young from C&M, C&M Cleaning. What kind of cleaning do you, Jason? Come up here. Is he here? There you go. Jason, what kind of cleaning do you do? Residential, Airbnb, what?
Residential, primary, and rental cleanouts. So we're focusing in that area. I do property management, and by default, I kind of fell into this. So, yes, we're getting there. I don't want to promise too much yet. I have that one already, so I'll go for that one.
So I put my card in there. So when you pass, bring it back, pass on, tape your card in there and do the same, okay? Awesome, thank you. Okay, guys, any questions before we wrap up tonight? I know we went late. I appreciate it. Jeff, you're the man. Thank you. We're going to be heading out for drinks. The staff, we're keeping them late already, so we ask that everybody just cleans up and heads to Burger Theory so that way the staff can get out tonight. Because otherwise, Kelly and Jen will kill us because their daughters are work here. So thank you so much. Take care of your staff, and we'll see you next month with Travis Banks, or we'll see you here in 2 weeks for the luncheon. Have a good night.